September 22nd and 23rd of 2019, crucial time in the timeline of the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell story, Life Beyond the Grave. J.J. Vallow, young autistic child, was deemed a zombie by his own mother, Lori Vallow, and anyone who would come between Lori and her lover, Chad Daybell's future plans. They referred to these people as obstacles. They were deemed dark before finally they were deemed zombies, in which they would either die or disappear shortly after that. Being a full-blown zombie meant that your life was near its end. We left off where Alex Cox had taken JJ from Lori's townhome while Melanie and David were visiting because he was acting like a zombie. He had knocked over a picture of Jesus, and we know from the evidence that investigators presented to us later in trial that they found JJ buried in Chad Daybell's backyard near the pond. But just days before that, JJ had been playing with his friends. He's been going through a very tough time, and the reason for that is because of his mother. Everything that has gone wrong is because of Lori Vallow. She is absolutely destroying this child's life, but she'll take him to a trampoline place and appear to be this great mom with concerns of his well-being, but the truth of the matter is it's just a show. She could care less about JJ or Tylee. I feel it's very important that we address the fact that David Warwick told the jury, that he had a very uneasy feeling when he left the townhome that day, especially after that nightmare. She was one of the reasons that all of them had come together in the first place. But if you watch Melenie Gibb's testimony, she does not play that role. She plays the role of an innocent friend that had no idea how this group come together, and the things that they were teaching, they were just kind of not her cup of tea. She says that it was Lori and Chad that did all the planning, but she was in on the conversations about JJ, which we learned in the last video. So if you want to catch that, make sure you jump back to the video before this and watch it before you watch this. So we know that Melanie Gibb and Lori discussed that Lori didn't want JJ anymore. We do know that Alex Cox took JJ to that property, Chad Daybell's property in Salem, Idaho. His wife, Tammy Daybell, was alive, and they were living together on that property. But somehow, Chad Daybell was able to accomplish some very dark deeds on that property in front of his family while they're living there without them knowing. Some say that Chad's kids might have known something, but a lot of people also believe that Tammy had no clue. She had no clue that day that Chad and Alex are on that property, and their phone, they ping near the spot they found JJ's body nearly a year later, mind you. One in the pet cemetery and one near a tree by the pond. What happened to JJ exactly that day is unknown. However, according to investigators, they said later they find out that there are scratch abrasions on the left side of his neck. And there were also marks that kind of suggested that there was a little bit of a hold on him on both left and right arms. Was it coincidence? Was it something that child just attained from being a boy and playing around a little too hard? Well, experts believe that there's a possibility that JJ had a great fight within him. I have to be careful how I share things on here, so we're going to just leave it at that. And then we're going to go over this GPS times, a few of them here. So Alex Cox arrives on Chad Daybell's property around 9:55 a.m. Just a reminder, that would be Monday, the 23rd of September, 2019. Around 9:56, the GPS leads police to believe that he's definitely near the pond and the tree where they find JJ later. Approximately 4 minutes after he arrives at the property, he's by that tree, so it seems like he goes straight from the driveway to the pond area. According to investigators, that phone pings multiple times in that same area. By 10:05 that morning, he's around the front of the house. 10:07, somewhere to the other side of the house. I would love to go into more details here on this, but what I'm going to do is save this for later on in the timeline. What I do want to go into is the fact that after Alex Cox leaves this property without JJ. Now, a few of my favorite investigators were Rick Wright and Doug Hart. Hermosillo as well. But it was Rick Wright and Doug Hart's testimony that really pinpointed where Alex Cox was September 23rd. So let's say Alex Cox, he goes to that property and he does some very dark things. He is responsible, allegedly, for putting JJ in this spot they find later. After this alleged burial is finished, what does Alex Cox do? Does he go home, take a shower, wash his clothes, maybe lay down and rest? It seems that he was up all night. Maybe go somewhere and think for a bit about these horrible actions. Maybe decide to call to the police or confront his sister and say, hey, I think what we're doing is probably not a good idea. No, he doesn't do that. Instead, they're already plotting for their next target. And that next target has no idea what's coming for him. He has been scared for a while. And that person is Brandon Boudreaux. It's around this exact time that Melenie Boudreaux's relationship with her uncle Alex grows on a daily basis. Their relationship is getting stronger during the time that Alex Cox, Lori Vallow, and possibly even Chad Daybell allegedly were plotting his murder. So after committing one of the most horrific acts against one of your own family members and someone that depends on you, a child, Alex Cox heads to a window tinting company and gets an estimate on tinting the Jeep. Now think about this. According to the pathologist, JJ was gone because of asphyxia, by plastic bag over his head. And without any problems whatsoever, he's taken his next step for the next attack and preparing. And to me, this was something that really showed the character of Alex Cox, Lori Vallow, and Chad Daybell. This showed that they had no time to mourn for the losses of those two children. It seemed that just actually got them more excited and made more attacks progress even faster. So that gives you an idea of just how sick these people are. And something that was addressed in court also that morning is there were several connections to Lori September 23rd when all this is going on. Connections between Alex Cox's phone and Lori's. There were 8 communications between Chad and Lori September 23rd. That morning, while JJ was being allegedly laid to rest. So actually this window tinting company that Alex Cox visited, it was around 1:53 through 1:58 September 23rd. He stayed there about 5 minutes. Even more interesting, investigators find in their text messages, Lori had 2 photos showing rifle ammunition, and this is when Alex Cox was at a gun store. How long has it been that he left JJ behind on that property? Well, just a couple of hours, and here they are, getting their windows tinted, collecting ammo from a gun store. She and Alex are basically schemers and the masters of this very deceptive plan. They're not open to everyone about their plans, but you have to wonder, how much did everyone in that cult know? They were moving in the shadows, yes. They were moving unseen for the majority of people, but otherwise, there were breadcrumbs. People like Charles Vallow and Brandon Boudreaux, they knew there was something very odd about this group of people. In other words, their true power lies from their ability to listen and watch, absorbing every piece of information and everyone's weakness. And Lori does that well. That's why she was able to do this basically so openly, because a lot of people say, why did she do it this way? Why wasn't she hiding this? Wasn't she worried that people were going to ask questions? On the surface, Lori Vallow appeared to be harmless, a quiet friend, a trusted confidant. But Lori Vallow is one of the most dangerous killers I know of. Her mind was always working, silently piecing together a long, intricate plan. This entire group together planted seeds of doubt with casual questions, whisper suggestions that seem like good ideas. They manipulate situations without anyone ever suspecting them having gloves on. They are schemers, people who are not friends, but they're not foes. They are merely pieces on a chessboard. They're ready to be moved, ready to sacrifice whoever they need to get to where they need to win. Her weakest skill was patience. Sometimes they were willing to wait for months or even years for their schemes to unfold, but to get the satisfaction she was seeking, the closer they got to the finish line, well, the more she became impatient, and the more people started raising their eyebrows, especially within that group. You have to say, how is it all these things are happening? Why is it that Melenie Gibb and Melanie Boudreaux aren't concerned about all of these crazy things happening around them? Lori could care less that JJ was gone, because when he was gone, they continued doing their childlike activities, playing games, singing karaoke, dancing in front of the mirror. And she didn't show any signs of being a responsible adult she claimed to be. Lori seemed to like to live this carefree lifestyle. This was a big struggle for Lori, I think, was being this responsible adult, a responsible parent. This led to her expressing that little saying everybody knows when she was in that beauty pageant, how she was a ticking time bomb. While her children were considerably facing these major challenges, frequently seen and witnessed to be yelling out, showing signs of high alert. These kids were struggling. They began openly questioning their mother in front of people. It was a dynamic and intensified situation. And this is something JJ most likely witnessed a lot, watching his sister crying out because of all the chaos surrounding this family. In my opinion, her decision to deem her children zombies seemed like an attempt to free herself from the mother's responsibility. That is the number one motive. in my understanding of studying this woman. Many people suspect that money was a primary motive behind many of Lori Vallow's choices during this time, including the decision, to take her own children's life. But there's other factors that might contribute to this tragic end for everyone involved that lost their lives. Lori Vallow, without any second thought, has already made plans and contacts the school to let them know that JJ will not be returning to school. Rob Wood, who was a prosecuting attorney for Lori's trial, said that Lori Vallow was a whole different level of crazy. Rob Wood said that he had never witnessed a case crazier than this one. And looking back, both Alex Cox and Lori Vallow appeared disturbingly eager to get rid of those kids. And I have to agree with Rob. I don't think there's anybody or any case out there with the sheer numbers of deemed evil family members coming from one criminal. Around this time as well, Alex Cox, excitingly, again, guys, it seems like he's excited to me, texts his sister saying that he needs to go practice shooting and lining his scope. And it's just crazy because these two have created this crazy bond I don't think I've ever seen before. And I don't think any of us can really read in between the lines of what's going on between Alex and Lori. Many times we have these suspicious thoughts, a lot of speculation. Remember the ex-wife of Alex Cox, Debbie. The things she told us that these siblings did to each other, they were joking. And they say they've never seen that before. But I've seen, crazy siblings. You got Chris Hemsworth and his family. They're crazy. But she said she witnessed this joke kind of insinuating incest. It made her uncomfortable. And if these two can get together and plan these evil murders of his nephew and niece, her own children, I don't think like a romantic companionship between the two is so far-fetched. Clearly, Alex and Lori were getting something out of this. Was it money or was it more? She wasn't only just turning on her own children or her husband. She was now turning on her other siblings, her parents, especially Adam Cox. So remember, who are the zombies now that Charles, Tylee, and JJ are gone? You have Adam Cox, Brandon Boudreaux, Tammy Daybell, and somewhere in between now and the end of this will be more of her family members, like her father, her sister, along with many others outside of the family, like police, friends, etc. I don't think anyone ever understood how alarming it was, how many people were zombies, and how many more lives could have been, destroyed, even worse, if she were to continue on with this cult. Lori always liked to set herself up as a likeness of Jesus Christ and some of the religious leaders. But in truth, as I research religion and I research angels and demons, the closest thing I could find to Lori was Medea, a demon, and Lilith. I wanted to take time to go into that here, and I even researched this for you guys. If you want to hear stuff like this, comment right now below. Say, yes, Debbie, throw that stuff in here. I want to talk about it. And if you do, for this one, write Medea. And that way I know that you're interested and I'll add it to the next video. So Melanie and David have left Lori's townhome. Now there's one thing I believe from Melenie Gibb. If she believed that Melanie Boudreaux was a very kind, loving person, and there were several people in this group that seemed to believe that. And in a police interview with Melenie Gibb, she even tells the police, trying to take up for Melanie, that Lori kind of sunk her claws into Melanie B, that is. Another interesting comment, as I suspected, is Chad Daybell. Everything that he was doing seemed to be to please Lori. He would give his regular ideas, and she wouldn't be happy with that, and he would have to come up with something a little bit more extreme. And if it wasn't good enough, she would plant something in his head, and he would go with that. I want to play a clip of Melanie talking to investigators about their casting out of these zombies and how, they would make these predictions. They wouldn't go through. And so they would, say, this is some kind of agency. It's a change that we have, it's going to happen. So we got new plans.
Like casting out, right? But they said, oh, no, it's still in there. Chad would deem it's still in there. We can't get him out. They're breaking eternal law, right? This is what we're saying. Okay. They cast his personal spirit out and then put a new one in. So then they finally said, we got him out finally. Through our priesthood powers, we got him out. Now, it was the next one. Garrett. Garrett was the next one that came into Charles. And this was supposed to be a more advanced, darker spirit.
Okay, so
according to them.
If the body keeps receiving dark spirit,
Yeah.
In order, does that body have to be destroyed?
Oh no, not. See, they were learning. It was never figured out. This was Chad pretending more and more along the way. It's my opinion now. It's like he was just like, okay, that didn't work. But what can I come up with to keep Lori happy, right? And let me just figure this out and come up with. I don't know if he even played all the way through, because Lori was so pushy about being with him, and I think he was so infatuated, which you and I both know he was with her. I think he just got more creative in his darkness.
This is where Melanie doesn't really, I think, tell the truth, because she knows Chad is not the pushy one. And we've already heard several recordings of her, Lori and Chad together, and Chad would be leading until he wasn't. Listening to Melanie Gibbs, it seems like she just thinks they're mumbo jumbo. But I don't believe that. I believe Melanie had a lot of suggestions. She put a lot into that entire idea and group, and she just didn't want that to leak out. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I really had a lot of trouble putting this one together for you guys, because I've had my husband come home, a lot going on. It's been a busy life. As you know, you're probably busy as well. It's really hard to put in the extra time. So I'm going to try to start working on the next one right tonight, as soon as I close this one and upload it. And at some point, we're going to start talking about what I found that I believe Lori and Chad were following. So where is it that these people got their ideas? A lot of people believe it's just the Mormonism, but no, it's not, guys. They were getting their information from every source, including TV shows, which I can't wait to go over. Don't forget about these girls that are out there missing, people like Summer Wells. Please share her face today on your social media. Share her story. And don't forget, guys, to like, subscribe, share, say hello in the comments, because that really helps me out in ways you just don't understand. And I love you guys dearly, and I hope to see you within the next few days, in fact, with another video.